Hi, everyone. My name is Pedro Moreira da Silva, and I'm the staff product designer working in the code review group of GitLab. And today I'm going to talk about Lovable merge button, which is one of the most important buttons in GitLab, right after login, register, you know what I'm saying. So for those who are not familiar with this part of the product, this is what I'm talking about. So in merge requests, there's this area somewhere in the middle of the merge request, which is also another problem that we want to address. But you have this button, green button merge, that allows you to accept a merge request with all of its changes and integrate those changes into the target branch of the repository. And it's not the best experience. We're already in this milestone and in the previous milestone, we're already fixing some minor visual issues and alignments and sizes and things like that. But that is not enough because there are lots of cases that appear almost every month of people not understanding the messages and why is the merge button disabled, and what they have to do to fix that problem and make it enabled. And sometimes there's nothing that they can do because they don't have permissions. So there are lots of different cases. And to start, I want to also share the work that Catherine will be working on in, I think, this milestone, without putting too much pressure on her, this milestone or in the near future, which will be about synthesizing all of the research that we have around all of the merge request widgets, and looking and talking with the counterparts, designers, and product managers of all of these groups that own these different widgets inside of the merge requests, and trying to understand what are the jobs to be done, how are we tracking their usage. So it will be a more comprehensive look into the different widgets so that we can then have a solid foundation to start really innovating on the merge request widgets. But right now, I'm just focusing on this milestone, on this widget, which is one of the most important ones, and trying to understand what are the little things that we can do now that will have a huge impact given the constraints, the technical constraints, the UX constraints of what we have to work on today. So the first thing that I did was map all of the states that control this merge widget and button, the actions and the information. And that I also captured all of the different states with what is shown, what are the texts, what are the buttons, everything, all of the images are here of all of the different states. And it was a scary task. And the way I did it was just looking at all of the files that we have in the code base, jumping through all of them, and then testing it out in the GDK using Gitbot. So nods to Marcel there. And this is the result. So, and that's why this is collapsed, because it's a huge description of all of the states and all of the if statements and what can happen, what can happen, what are the buttons that are shown, what are the messages, what happens when there's a success, when there's a failure. And you can see all of this and all of these different messages and buttons are displayed and are all conditionally displayed on this little area. So there's a lot going on here. And without understanding this first, it would have been impossible to make any progress. So this is almost completed. I'm just waiting for validation from someone from continuous integration engineering to validate what I found. I've also had Vitika looking over this, and she was amazing in her help. And one of the things that I'd like to do in the future, and I've asked her help for that, but again, no pressure, we still don't know when we're going to do it, is to convert what I've had described here and this outline into a more visual experience, perhaps, something that is more consumable and maintainable going forward. So this is one of the ideas and inspiration from how Slack has diagrammed their notification flow. So to answer the question, should we send a notification? They go through all of these different states and questions to reach the end goal, yes or no. So we might do something similar to that. We already have an issue open to create a better documentation format for this mapping. And Vithika has already shared a great ideas here. I haven't commented yet, Vithika, don't worry, I will, because I have to digest this as well. So thank you for that. And yeah, that's what we're going to do forward. Right now in this milestone, as I said, I'm almost done completing the mapping, just waiting for validation. And at the same time, what I've been doing now is competitive analysis of what I try to abstract this a little bit to also other tools, is basically the analysis of the code review merge checks, the UX in other tools. So basically, how does GitHub communicate all of the checks and all of the actions and information that enable or disable or make visible or make it invisible the merge action in their pull requests. And then the same thing I'll be doing for other competitors like Garrett, Fabricator, Azure DevOps, and a couple of others. And with this information, I'm going to try to start a design framework for merge request widgets in general. But right now, as I said, we'll be focused on the merge button. And I laid down some design principles here. And I'm still not sure how this is going to look in the end. But what I'm thinking is that with the information that we have today, and again, all of the constraints, that this will mostly be more surface level now and trying to organize the disorganization that we have today. So there are very clear things that we can do today to make this better. And I mean, as we all know, and we've been here working with merge requests and using them every day, the merge request widgets are basically a fire that it has been burning for a very, very long time. And we have to do something about it. And I want also to give a shout out to Kai, my product manager, for allowing me to do this and not scheduling a lot of things for me during this milestone. And also he's taking over some of my UX reviews and merge requests. We still have to see how that pans out in the next release and how many bugs come up. No, but it's amazing, and I'm really happy that he's able to do that. And yeah, that's a little bit of what I've been working on. I'm really excited about this, although it could look very boring because there's not a lot right now. And I have a couple of questions, but maybe I'll stop there and see if anyone has questions before I ask my questions.
Pedro, I have a question. I'll put it in the agenda after I say it. If we're considering adding a widget to the MR, should we pause that or bring you in for consideration and opinions?
Good question. Yeah, I think what we can start doing now more is at least involving me and other people in code review, because what we want is to, in the same way, like I look at this as the UX Foundations team with pajamas. Like all of us can contribute, but there needs to be someone that is looking at everything and making sure all of the pieces fit together. So, and this is also something that I'm hoping to do more as a staff designer. So right now, given our available resources and time constraints, what I would say is just involve me as soon as possible. But yeah, it would depend on what we're adding, but I would say that it will probably be added in some shape or form. Because what we want to do with the work I'm doing here and then what Catherine is going to research is to then come up with a great formula to solve all of those problems and to answer the questions of other designers like yourself that, hey, I want to add this new check to merge requests, and this is the value, and this is what we're expecting. How do I do it? And how important that would be. So yeah, it's not the best answer, but it's what we can do right now. So
yeah, no, that works. I'll keep you informed. I'm not blindsiding you to anything. You've already been in all the discussions anyways, but I figured there might be other people with similar problems.
Yeah, thanks for voicing that. Mike Long, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I apologize if this might be a bit orthogonal to your presentation, but it's something I've been meaning to ask you for a while, so it was like top of mind all of a sudden. Are there things like our MR experience is mainly in the browser, or we give a little URL when you make a commit, right? Like you can copy and paste or click on the URL in your terminal to go to the new merge request in the GitLab UI. But I'm wondering what are things that people want in their IDEs that are like the best parts of our MR experience, or the parts that they need to have without leaving their IDE and having to go to the GitLab browser?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we, as Marcel is also sharing, we have part of the code review group. We also have the responsibility of working on the GitLab extension for VS Code. And we have an epic that I linked there to review merge requests inside of VS Code, so you wouldn't have to leave and come to GitLab. We think that, so one thing that we already do today is showing, besides showing the diffs, is allowing you to navigate between merge requests inside of VS Code, which is already amazing. And what we're doing now, we're in the early stages of allowing you to comment inside of VS Code. And this is uncharted territory for us, and we're still figuring this out. And we also don't have, we've done problem validation around this, and it's clearly a problem we need to solve, and we need to meet developers where they are. So this would help a lot, but we still don't know exactly, besides commenting, for example, we don't know exactly what other things we can work on. And we also want to compare and understand the usage of our competitors, because GitHub has a similar integration and others. But yeah, we're focusing on reviews right now because that's the meat of merge requests.
Cool. I'll try the GitLab workflow VS Code extension. It's gonna be fun. Thanks for entertaining my question.
It's okay. Alexis.
Hey, you mentioned you worked with Kai to get some capacity to work on this, or the rest of your team as well. I was just wondering if you could expand on that. What was that like for you?
This is the therapy moment. This is where the more I lay down on the couch and look at the ceiling. No, it's it was a mix of ranting a lot, crying, holding Kai. No, I'm joking, but it basically, I think Kai understood very well that we needed to stop for a moment. And we already have a ton of backlog of bugs and slight UI tweaks and improvements and finishes and all of those little things that pile up, and code review has so much of them. So he basically tried to, during this milestone, to divert my attention to this and the rest of the team to those little things. So it was a very honest conversation, and then, yeah, I asked them very directly, like, would you be open to review merge requests from me? Like, not all of them, but the ones that are most straightforward. And he was very happy to do that. Like, as Mike Nichols knows, like, you worked with Kai as well, and he's very hands-on with this kind of thing. And I want product managers to do that more. I want them to do more research. I wanted them to do all of these things. And one of the things actually that Kai came back after just a couple of days doing merge request reviews was, he said, oh my God, this is like the context switching, the GDK, having to look at every small detail. It's a lot of work. I didn't know it was so much work, and it is. Unfortunately, it's a lot of work, and it's work that we have to do. But yeah, we've paused during this milestone, and I hope we can continue our regular work in the next milestone. But yeah, it's basically a very honest communication. I think that's the only solution. Yeah.
Can
I want to interject that what an amazing approach and collaboration between you and Kai, because you kind of did, like, you got the best of both worlds. You got your team working on these debt fixes that we have a hard time prioritizing anyway, and then you were able to pull up and do the strategy piece. So
thanks. Yeah, no, it's the part about the bugs and prioritizing them, it was a lot of complaining from my part every single milestone, and having those prioritization sessions that I still intend to document was just complaining and complaining. We have these bugs, we have these bugs, we have these bugs, we have this. And yeah, and I mean, everyone feels those bugs as well. So
good, complain. We're supposed to. Great. Well done.
Thanks.
I just wanted to volunteer you because you're a great writer. If you and Kai have any like retro thoughts, if you wanted to write a blog, I would be happy to read it about this process and how we can learn from it.
Cool. Okay. Note taken. I'll talk.
You don't have enough work to do, Pedro. I'm going to give you more.
Exactly. No pressure. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, we're on time. I don't know if we have time for my questions or if we would take them async. I'm okay with both approaches.
Seems
I
like
can
async.
stay on a bit longer.
Yep. So let me pause the recording here.